I've been doing freeze drying for over 5 years now, and this is the most common obstacle people have to get past in order to start a freeze drying business. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about freeze drying, and then I'm going to tell you and inform you on how you can speed up the freeze drying process, so therefore you can have more product and therefore make more money if you're interested in freeze drying. So first of all, my name is David, and I make content related to the business side of freeze drying. One of the things you should know about freeze drying is that it's completely different of a drying process than air drying, dehydration, things like that. So freeze drying actually goes through a process called sublimation. The sublimation process through the vacuum is really taking a delicate way to dry that product that you have it in. And that's why freeze drying is such a delicate process, because you're basically trying to retain the look and feel, colorization, everything while taking that water out. But there are quicker ways to get through that freeze drying process. There are a few ways to do that. Number one is there is a limited amount of product that you want to put in a freeze dryer. You don't want to just pack it full. So when you see a freeze dryer company say you can do up to 20 pounds of product, that's not necessarily the case. Yes, you can put 20 pounds of product, but is that going to actually give you the return that you want if you're going to run a business? Because you want to be able to have a consistent amount going in and be able to forecast how long it's going to take to freeze dry. So not overloading your machines can really dictate how fast your freeze drying process is. The second way to reduce freeze drying time is to look at the density and the thickness of the product that you're putting in. Let's take, for example, strawberries. So if you have a whole strawberry, it's going to take a lot longer for that freeze dryer technology, who's using radiant temperature, thermal temperature, to actually get into seeing if that whole strawberry is dry, because look how thick it is, compared to if you slice your strawberries into fourths or a very thin layer. That's going to take shorter amounts of time because that freeze dryer is able to extract that water through a thinner surface. Now, the third way to reduce freeze drying time is to have a good, reliable freeze dryer. Now, there are a lot of different brands of home freeze dryer units that you can get started with as a home business or as a commercial business. But if you really want to elevate your freeze drying business, you're going to want to look at commercial freeze dryers. Now, these commercial freeze drying companies, if you look them up, man, you're going to have some sticker shock, because they are $500,000 to $1 million, and not all of us can afford that. But why would you want to invest and look at that? It's because those machines are designed for a business. It's designed to perfect a recipe. Then that machine knows exactly how long it's going to take based on the amount of volume you put in. So every time you put in 100 pounds of product in that commercial freeze dryer, you know the temperature that it's going to be and the vacuum, and you know it's going to come out in 16 hours versus all the variability that you get with a home freeze dryer. So can you speed up the freeze drying time in a freeze dryer? Absolutely. But you do need to know why you should look at commercial freeze dryers, and that's what you have me at the Freeze Dry Business to do. So if you haven't done it yet, like this video or follow along. I'll see you in the next video.